Welcome back to another episode of Motogp Mac, and today we're going to talk about some of the possible restrictions and also concessions for the Japanese manufacturers that could come into play in 2024. Now, we know that Dorna is trying to push concessions for Yamaha and Honda to get them back towards the front of the grid as quickly as possible. But also, Aprilia and KTM are not so happy that the gap is widening between them and Ducati, more so because they have the 8 bikes on the grid. Now, it's a big bone of contention between an awful lot of the teams, but one of the major issues is how are Dorna going to manage this impossible situation. I believe they're going to have to take things into their own hands and try and seek some sort of compromise between the 5 manufacturers. But as we know, Aprilia and KTM do have a problem, and a big problem, the fact that Ducati have 8 bikes on the grid, and they're pushing to have the amount of test tires that are available to Ducati reduced from 170 to 140 tires per year. They were also trying to get a reduction in the amount of tires from 21 that they can use during a race weekend, which I don't think is going to actually happen. Also, with the Motogp regulations being set until the end of 2026, I don't really think that will happen too much, but some of the concessions that are lined out for Yamaha and Honda in 2024 is that the engine development will not be frozen from the start of the season. 2 more engines per rider than the Europeans, so they will get 10 engines instead of 8. The Japanese teams will also be allowed test on 4 tracks rather than 3. They will have 2 aerodynamic updates per rider per season instead of 1. And any individual or additional test days for GP riders, such as taking part in the 3-day shakedown in Sepang. Now, I think that's quite interesting. It's quite open, so it's realistically it is almost full concessions for a full year. There's also restrictions being put out, as I mentioned, for Ducati. They want, instead of having 6 wild cards per year, they can only have 2. So it's a little bit of a reduction there. Well, a good chunk of reduction there for their test riders to go out in Grand Prix. And instead of having 170 tires per season, they will have 140 to test. Now, personally, look, I don't believe in any regulation or concessions should be given. Honda and Yamaha have had the budget, they have the data, they have race wins in the past 12 months, or well, say in the past 2 seasons. They have podiums. They're struggling because they've built a bad bike, and it was funny when Pit Byra said that Honda have invested in the wrong areas. They invested in their riders rather than in developing their bike, and I think that's where the problem lies. I think Dorna are going to go ahead with the concessions, but I think it is probably the wrong direction. But I would definitely love to know your thoughts. What do you think of the proposed concessions and restrictions on Ducati? Definitely leave your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll be back again tomorrow with another video.